Welcome to Self. I've been going back and forth on how I wanted to start this. I recorded one yesterday and I didn't like some of the stuff that came out. And I recognize that there's still just some residual stuff built up in me that I don't want to entertain or give life to anymore. So bear with me if I take a pause to speak to certain aspects of what I feel like I need to share for myself today. um, just because it's a practice. It's really a practice to be able to go through and like speak about how you feel, share your raw thoughts and emotions, which I think I did in the last recording, which I'm not going to post. So I got to get some stuff out that I didn't know was there. And I guess that's really a good starting point, getting stuff out that you don't know is there. Um, I had Zoukfest this weekend. This past weekend was a festival for people who enjoy Brazilian Zouk, which is a style of dance that stemmed from Lombada, which is another style of dance. I think they said Zouk is about 30 years old, so it's a fairly newer thing. And I want you to keep in mind that just if you haven't listened to the last episode, I'm new. I'm new to not just the style of dance, but new to dancing, period. And let me tell you, this weekend, I think that I might have done more dancing, more practice dancing than I have ever done throughout the entirety of my life. And that says a lot because I'll be 37 next month. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know to expect to feel some of the things that I was feeling. And as somebody who is in the somatics world, uh, having taken practiced yoga, uh, having I gotta pause this. Hold on. Walking by a car playing music. Okay, that was just it was loud, and I didn't know if I'd still be heard over it. So yeah, working in somatics and understanding that movement can trigger or unlock still emotions in the body. I recognize that for myself. There were a handful of moments, four moments that I can pinpoint where I felt like crying. And the more that I talk to people and learn the mechanics and actually just let myself do the dance rather than trying to dance or practicing dancing, the more of those emotions came up. Um, it was twice in the shower over the weekend that I felt an overwhelming release. And this wasn't during the movement by any means, but it was just later in telling myself, damn, I'm doing this. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to cry. And then it stopped. It didn't even happen. And that's a really powerful parallel to dancing, right? They tell us moves, right? Such as a simple turn or a basic or a lateral. And I'll be like, okay, that's what I'm about to do. And then I'm trying to move my feet right, get into the rhythm right, and then make sure that I get the turn in the right direction. And then the song go off because I'm thinking about it. Whereas the few moments where I was just dancing or where I was just moving my body to the music, I would do the thing, and then my partner would be like, "Oh my God, you got it!" And that celebration, the excitement that I felt from that, reminded me of unsafe times. It reminded me of unsafe times because I think that the last thing that I had to learn how to do with with other people, with coaches, was playing football. And I talked about this last time, but I think that this particular time there was another guy in there who like we real recognize real, right? So it was this muscly ass dude we see each other. We slow to like approach one another, or whatever. But we crossed paths. Like I was close to him, and he ended up saying, "What's up, man?" And then we introduced ourselves and just started talking about. I asked him if he played sports, and he had played football as well, and so we were talking about how different it is that when you fuck up on the football field, you're punished like right away. Like correction comes from punishment. You run, you got to do drills, you got to do more push-ups, right? And it's so similar because dance also has footwork that you have to have regardless of whatever your position is in football. And another parallel too is we both play defense. We didn't really get to talk about this, but how so much of defense is reaction. You are reacting, responding to what the person who's on offense is doing. And you have techniques, you have skills, you have steps that you have to take, that you have to have done well in order to set you up for success to do what you're naturally good at, which is like honing in on your intuition, right? So if the opponent is trying to catch the ball, there's steps that will put you in position naturally to do what you need to do to keep him from catching the ball. You might break up the completion, you might bat the ball, you might catch the ball and intercept it, but it's natural for you to do one of those three things. But the thing that you have to work on is getting into the best position to do said thing. And that's what a lot of dance is. Hold on, I'm walking past something loud. I'm gonna pause here. Okay, it should be a little bit quieter. There's a lot of construction happening down this street. It's usually real quiet. Uh, so yeah, the footwork, the purpose of the practice, training, drills is to set yourself up. And I guess that's in a way a dance because your opponent is essentially your dance partner. But there's a goal, there's an outcome. In your case, you want to keep them from doing what they're supposed to do, and they have to throw you off, right? So it's so interesting. Like they have to keep you. You're keeping each other from doing what you want to do. Whereas in dance, it's the opposite, right? Like there's a flow, and on from my experiences playing defense, being reactive, responsive, that translates in so many other areas of life, in all areas of life, like having to be reactive, be responsive. And I think that has created an embodied rhythm for me to be responsive, reactive, right? And to have the mechanics down, how to be a good athlete, how to be a good worker, how to be a good partner, how to be a good friend. Like going through the mechanics of shit don't mean nothing. Averb said this shit in a rap battle against Loaded Lux. And this shit got me so hyped because it resonates. He said, as long as I hit the game winners, I can miss all the free throws. And that's real because that's what matters. Like that's the goal. But when it comes to dancing, it ain't no goal. And when we talk about practice, right? He even said that. He said, yeah, I'm still a player. I'm a player, but still a part of me, coach. Long as I hit the game winners, I can miss all the free throws. I think that's what he said. It's crazy, like how, again, analogies really work well for me. And I get a lot of that from the most unconventional places, anime and rap battles. And the coaching that I've gotten historically has just been negative. It's always been negative, like threats of being fired, threats of withholding affection, threats of pay cut, threats of having to run or having to do push-ups or more of a thing that you don't like. The negative reinforcement has been the language that has been embodied in my nervous system, to where the healthy and the positive reinforcement doesn't land. It's just as triggering, which is fucked up to think about. So when I step on their toes, oh, it's okay, you'll get it. If someone knows I suck and like I'm practicing, like I'm standing in the corner by myself doing shit, and people like, why don't you go dance with somebody? Like, nigga, I don't know how. I'm trying to get the rhythm down. Like that's what I learned the last day. I learned that on Sunday, that the rhythm, I don't have the ability to hold the rhythm. I When I see someone do it, I can do it, and I'm doing it as them. But I'm a leader. There's a leader follower in dance and Zouk specifically. I don't know how it works for the other ones, but even when they talk about the other dance styles, they'll reference them in classes where, oh yeah, if you've done salsa, then dot dot dot. And I'm like, nigga, I don't even know that. Like I don't know that. I don't know that language. It's a type of language that I've not spoken. And I'm 37, and it's almost like I just been getting by on, I guess, my little two step, but also like I ain't had to dance, so I haven't, and there's not been any kind of a motivation for me to do so. Um, yeah, there's just not been a motivation to, and I think that that's part of what like the issue is that I've been so goal focused, even in sports. Like we want to win, we doing this so we can win, and that's an intention. The intention is to win, but I think that there's something to be said for the outcome, the goal drivenness, and the amount of pressure created there that builds up. And I don't even think it releases from winning, because then I think it just continues to evolve. Win a lot, win by a lot, win with flashiness and stats, right? Whereas the intention and the goal or the outcome don't necessarily line up. But anyway, I'm trying to keep this more focused in like a story mode, because I gotta tell my story with herpes a little bit later, and I gotta be on track. And this is good practice. So reflecting on class and how, like, I'll dance with somebody and won't get it, won't get it, won't get it, maybe get it, won't get it. And to me, I took 5 L's and had one win. That's a losing record. So no, I'm not gonna ask this person to dance with me again. In fact, I'm not gonna ask anybody to dance with me until I've practiced. But the best practice is getting in there and doing the shit, and you mess up and you learn. And I had that experience on Thursday and Friday night, because I thought I was paying for a class, like to train. What I paid for were workshops that it was kind of expected that you came in knowing how to dance Zouk. I don't know how to dance Zouk, and I'm learning to dance, but the people who were there, most of them, all of them except one person, it was super like kind to me. And I will always remember this lady. Like I can tell you exactly what her face looks like. I brought her up to somebody because we were talking about this, and he knew exactly what I was talking about. I was like, thank you for the fucking validation. But she's really like good, and it seemed like she was annoyed that I didn't know how to do things. Like I can't spin nobody around. I can't do no head movements. I just learned body rolls on Sunday. And like I got that down, because that's more like fucking. And it's also interesting there too, because my therapist and I talked about this. Like the most confident that I am is when I'm having sex, um, and even when I'm podcasting. Like there's a confidence there, and I think that really comes down to a attitude of I don't give a fuck. Not like I don't care, I don't give a fuck, but like I'm not performing anything. I'm just I'm just there. I'm showing up, and I'm doing what I do. I'm doing what like I feel like I'm good at. And even in that, I can take feedback. I can take constructive criticism. In fact, like any feedback that I get, if positive, it still feels uncomfortable. It still feels uncomfortable, even to hear, like, damn, according to that thing you did with your tongue, dot dot dot, or like, oh man, like watching you in the mirror, like this kind of feedback still feels uncomfortable for me. But throwing myself into, I would say, like the fire of what Thursday night and Friday night were, it really felt like my nervous system was shocked and disrupted, and there was chaos because I have to, I it wasn't no goal. Again, this is all internal. This is my perception of what's happening. Like, oh my God, I gotta perform. Oh my God, I gotta get this done. I gotta get this right. I'm gonna walk around this park for a little bit because I'm gonna be a minute. Um, oh, thanks, my man. I almost got hit. I had the right way. Um, the, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna just say it. So Thursday, man, like Thursday and Friday, it was advanced shit. They were like, all right, now we're gonna do this. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I thought I came to the beginner class. That wasn't no goddamn beginner class. I was the only one there with a beginner wristband. Everybody else had the non-beginner wristband. So that was my experience. But also I think that on one hand, that was real good for me. And the reason that it was real good for me was simply because I got to learn in the way that I'm familiar with. High stress environment, and it's like I have to fucking adapt. I have to fucking evolve, right? And it was just like a forced evolution. But also, like, while I'm kind of in shock, that's home for me. That the idea of like, all right, boom, I childhood trauma, right? Let's call it that. I don't feel like I have any pinpoint traumatic event that has happened that shaped who I am. But what I know for a fact is that I used to get in trouble for saying I don't know. And so over time, what I had to learn was that saying I don't know is safe. Is not safe. It's unsafe to say I don't know. It's unsafe not to know. So even if I don't know, I needed to say something, make up something, and then be right, make it right. I had to give an answer and make it right. And in the book Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he said, we don't make right or wrong decisions. We make decisions and then we make them right. And that was another really validating lesson for me to hear because that's how I've done things. But even at the expense of getting to the goal or being so locked into what the outcome is supposed to be that I miss the journey, like getting to that goal, right? Um, I'm trying to avoid the rabbit hole of talking about my last relationship, so bear with me here. There's a parallel there for sure, but in football, for me, getting the fundamentals were like something that I was so focused on. Like, oh, okay, boom, I did those steps right, and then I'm looking to the coach for validation, and then like, yeah, I got the steps right, but you didn't do what comes after that. You didn't go and make the tackle. So like, I'm not getting in trouble by any means for not doing the right steps. Now, if I would have made the play, made the tackle, and not taken the right steps, right? That's cool, but you still like get that criticism, that negative feedback of, yeah, you made the play, but you didn't take the steps. What if dot dot dot? And so now, like, the way that my mind works, I am now like, okay, to prevent that thing from happening, I'll never forget this shit. These motherfuckers, I was on ESPN Top 10, y'all. It was my first college football game that I got put in. I was in for a play, and it's like them niggas was licking their chops. They knew I was new. So I did everything right. I took my steps. I was like, yeah, I got my steps. My person did what they were supposed to do. And then there was like one more thing that I didn't do. The dude was just fucking faster than me. And the way that you counteract speed is with technique. You can counteract just about anything with good technique, right? So again, remember I said on defense, you're responsive, you're reactive. These motherfuckers ran a reverse and caught me slipping. And these motherfuckers ran a touchdown. They shook everybody. Everybody, whole team looked stupid. It wasn't just me, but I was one of the first people to be on ESPN, and not on the good end of it. But the it's embedded in my brain to get these techniques, and that shit don't serve me no more. Ain't no ain't no technique for podcasting. And at this point, with damn near 400 podcast episodes of just something positive for positive people alone, that's more than my 10,000 hours. That's more than my 10,000 hours of practicing a craft and becoming a quote expert at something, and having done that without any sort of no template, no roadmap. Hey, good morning. Without any kind of a roadmap, without like following a template that says, here's how you start a podcast. Here's what you need to get. Do these things. Like, I ain't follow that shit. That's the technique of it, right? I could, if I were to have done that and then like express myself openly through that. But I think what I've had to do is craft my own swag about it, my own character, my own rhythm. It's my rhythm. I have rhythm in podcasting. I've been doing this shit so long. It does come natural to me. The way that I move my cadence, my words, how I might use the linguistics, but I don't give a fuck when it comes to sex. The way that I move and do things through that, like my natural aspects of myself, the curiosity, the connectedness, the choice, the creativity, the the all of these the C words that make up Courtney's atom, if you're familiar with the atomic language that I be using. That's me expressing myself, and the mechanics, the techniques give that sort of a language for other people to hear it and experience it, that are drawn to it, right? So I go out and people look at me a certain way. Perfect. Great example. I went out one night and there was someone I saw that I'd seen in dance class. Now, me and her didn't have an opportunity to connect. Like, we danced a little bit in practice and like laughed a little bit and talked just briefly. And when I was leaving, I was like, oh, hey, will I see you again here? She was like, I don't know, maybe. And I never saw her again. Now, granted, I missed the next week, and then she wasn't at the next one. So I saw her out one night. I was like, oh, hey, you were at dance class. What was your name again? She told me her name. I was like, all right, Courtney. And like, she seemed cold. She seemed very cold. And she was with a guy. So it was like, all right, it is what it is. And so I go away. I'm like practicing my dance moves. I ain't want nobody to see me doing this. So I was in the corner by myself. And then one of the people that we were with, she just kind of danced nearby. And I just like felt cool and safe with that or whatever. And so time passes and I'm around like my roommate and my friends group. Now, mind you, I'm a muscly person, and the style of dress was like, it's the burner group, like the people who go to Burning Man or whatever. And so like my arms are out, my traps are out. Like I probably look like a fucking douche. But being out there and seeing her again, what ended up happening was my roommate was right there, and he was introducing me to the people that she was with. She's like, oh, have you met my roommate Courtney? And she was like, oh, you know so-and-so? I was like, oh yeah, we roommates. Whole fucking demeanor changes. And then she like tells me about what was happening for her that time at the event, whatever. And yeah, she was just like, she was very nice. And I guess like that gave her insight to my rhythm, right? Like how I move through the world. If I know this person, then I must move a certain way. I must have a certain organic rhythm, right? So podcasting has given me a rhythm. Sex has given me a rhythm. And there's not a rhythm in dancing. There's not a rhythm in relationships. Or I guess, yeah, like there's not a rhythm there, but the mechanics are there. So like I can do the things that make a good boyfriend because I know what does and does not make a good boyfriend. Now, as it relates to expressing myself in a relationship, the negative reinforcement is what has caused change. And so I'll find myself, or have found myself, in the kind of relationships where there is mostly or only negative reinforcement and no positive, right? Like there's no positive feedback, because what I'm gonna do with it, I'm gonna get uncomfortable and then cave under the positive feedback uh, loop. So that speaks so many volumes. That speaks such high volume to like how I've navigated the world, even in my jobs, right? Okay, you want me to do this thing? I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do it exactly how the fuck you asked me to because I want to keep my job, right? And then sometimes I would get, I guess like criticism for like not having style to it, or even what it takes to be a good friend. You show up, you call, how you doing? Like you go through the mechanics of what it is to just like be good, and rather than being good in your own unique way, rather than expressing yourself and your humanness and whatever your rhythm is. And so because I only really have the practices of rhythm in sex, in podcasting, and even teaching yoga. Like I feel very experienced teaching yoga. These are the three things that, I feel like the most confident in. And I can express that confidence through those three vehicles. Now, how do you express that? And even as a friend, I will say that, like my friends, they I love my friends, they love me. And I think that that's where I also get to express my rhythm, because like I'm a very unconventional person, and like I think that the people that I have in my life are very great, validate and support, celebrate and challenge all these aspects of my rhythm, my uniqueness. And there's no mechanics for what it takes to be a good friend, but you can get into a habit of, oh, all right, I call every week and I just say these words, do these things. And that showed up for me in dance. And I think that that's what led to me crying was, wow, for 37 years, I've not been myself. Like I've not openly and expressively in rhythm been able to be myself through this vehicle of being able to connect, right? Like in work, the jobs that I've had, they were not great dance partners, or I wasn't a great dance partner for these jobs. Or in the relationships that I was in, I wasn't a good dance partner, right? Like, yeah, I can do the steps. Who the fuck wants to do the steps? Like, teach me. And in Zouk, right? Like, as the leader, the follower is responsive to you. So if my ass is used to responding, reacting to the defense. I'm responding, reacting to my boss's needs. I'm responding, reacting to what my mom wants. I'm responding, reacting to what a lover wants. Where's the proactiveness? And I'm even finding this like with sexual partners now too. Like I remember women saying, Courtney, you can do whatever you want. It used to be such a scary thing for me to hear. And I think that it was because of like, all right, I don't have anything to respond or react to. So because I don't have anything to respond or react to, right? Like, who am I? So if you're not giving me anything to respond or react to, then I don't fucking know. And I think more recently, since making that observation, I see like how dance translates into so many things, because it's like, all right, boom, I'm doing with you, to you, whatever, right? What I want to do, and you respond to it. You either receive the invitation or you decline the invitation. But if you're choosing to play or dance with me, you want to be there. So maybe like the body language, the nonverbals of what dance is doing is it's fucking communicating something. There's communication happening without words. The communication that is occurring is nonverbal. It's with the body. The energy. We did this exercise where we put our hands on each other and you just feel the energy shift with your partner. So if I shift forward, they step back. If I shift backward, they step forward. If there is no change, you stay exactly where you are. And that's like with the hands. You take the body away or you remove the hands and you still have that space between us. Like there's still that energy ball. And what our teachers, they talk about cake, like holding a cake for somebody and you're handing a cake to somebody, and that space between you is the energy that is like that you're playing with. That space between us is what's being like honored, right? And so I've just not been a good dance partner. I've not been a good dance partner in relationships. I've not been a good dance partner in my jobs. And so like, yeah, creating my own shit has been like what my rhythm is and has been. And now, you know what I'm saying, finding out nigga Nigerian and shit. Maybe I can look at my West African roots and learn some stuff. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding. I had my grandparents do a DNA test kit, an ancestry test kit for me, so I could see like where they're from and get the most far back details. So, anyways, um, the crying. For 37 years, I have like just had this stored up resistance, this stored up hesitance and resistance and overthinking and not really being in my rhythm, being in my body, being connected to my energy. And I think that the tears have been releasing something because I've had thoughts and emotions of, you know, the hard things for me. And like, I feel myself transforming. Um, the anime, Full Metal Alchemist, they talk about the law of equivalent exchange, which is essentially the law of compensation. And they say in the anime, humankind cannot obtain anything without first giving something in return. And so, if you watch the movie Avengers Endgame, Thanos had to sacrifice his daughter, who he developed a loving relationship with, and the energetic, emotional weight of his love built over all those years, and he had to get rid of her. He had to push her down and get the Soul Stone. So that was how he acquired the Soul Stone, by freeing up the energy that was, I don't want to say poured into her, but like the weight of his emotions and who she was and what she represented. That was the trade for him to get the power, for him to get that piece of the puzzle that he needed uh, to acquire the last of the Infinity Stones. And the same thing for me has been the relationship that I got out of. Has That was like, I saw what my kid looked like. My first kid, Courtney Jr. I saw what she looked like. And that that was important to me. I saw what like being married to the person that I was with would look like. Like I was living that shit. All right, wake up, I take care of you. Right? I wake up and I make sure you eat. I make sure that you move your body. I check in with you emotionally, that you have everything that you need, that you ain't got to worry about shit, right? The investment, everything that I poured in, I poured everything that I had. And then that ended. So my as Thanos, what Gamora was to Thanos is what my last identity that I created in the relationship that I was in was. So it was letting go of my identity, not only as a future, you know, father, grandfather, husband. Like I was like, you're gonna be Big Mama. Like we gonna have all the family functions. Like I fucking, I felt this shit. I felt it. And I was so willing to give up my herpes related work to just start working with men, because that's how much I loved her. That's how much I loved the relationship that we had and what we were working towards. And you know, I still have identified myself as non-monogamous, but I wasn't gonna have sex with nobody else if that was what she wanted. And the weight of my willingness to change 99.9% of who I was, right? Whatever my expansiveness was that encaptured so much charge, developed not only throughout that relationship, but even at the end of the relationship as well. When we stopped talking, when the relationship was like over, you know, I had to let go of my attachment to it being, to that energy being what it was. And it's a big ass, like imagine just the fucking sun, like the sun, a sun's worth of energy has now freed up for me to allow for the events, people, challenges, opportunities, environments, to the moves that I need to make, all of that now is charged by that infinite potential of what I poured the emotional weight into, because that shit was heavy. And I don't mean heavy in a bad way. I mean it was weighted by my intentionality. It was weighted by my choice. It was weighted by my emotions. Like that uh, that was what I was invested, right? And so now, law of equivalent exchange, right? I couldn't have gotten everything that I have now had that not been surrender. And there's a constant surrender that has to happen. I still dream about this girl. I still think about her, right? And it's a subtle, there's a moments of hesitance and resistance there that come up for me, because I am living the life that I want to live. I'm living the life that I chose, that I said that I wanted, even though like I don't want to call it a detour, because that was a fucking choice. It was a choice for me to be where I was. And law of the universe, law of equivalent exchange, right? Now that's freed up, and whatever I choose, there's energy for it to come into orbit. And it's fucking shocking and honestly a little bit scary to me, because I used to have this belief like I didn't ask for things, I didn't want to pray, because I got the things that I prayed for. I got the things that I asked for, and I was like, damn, I don't want to use this all up. That was my thought process. That's literally what I believed. I believed that I would run out of power of prayer, and now I understand. I didn't have to give up football, but even when I was playing football, like I wanted to go to a Division I school, right? And so the capacity of which I had to make that happen, like I didn't know Division I AA was an option, but it was like, all right, here's the next best thing, because of what I was willing and able and capable of investing, right? And so I went to a Division I AA school. I still remember like how I felt, man, the emotional weight that I carried. I didn't even know why. I just knew that that was what I wanted. And maybe it was just because that's what like the peak of it was and what everybody else wanted. But I remember praying for that and getting it. And I remember just like the feeling of like desire and desiring something and then getting it. And like very, for a while, even right before I met, my ex. And I don't want to, give this too much energy and attention, but it's there to be released and let go of. Even before that, there were things that I wanted. And when I met her, those things became irrelevant, because to me, this is what I'm choosing. Like this is better. And I started to pour so much more into that, which required me to do the same thing. I had to law of equivalent exchange, right? I let go of many little people. I let go of many little actions, activities, thoughts, feelings, events, spaces, right? And things and future ideas and identities. I had to release all of that shit. And everything was invested into this one big ass bubble that became that relationship and who I was becoming, my identity, the identity of who I was becoming in that relationship. And going back to the letting go process, right? Like now that that's gone, and all of those other little things are gone, it's almost like this big ass energy to be protected with boundaries. Okay, what am I going to engage with? What am I going to entertain? And that doesn't just mean people, but almost immediately after the relationship ended, like there was an enthusiastic charge, right? Like I wasn't in the best of fucking places by any means. Hell no, I was not. Yet the opportunities were coming at me like, all right, Courtney, like now here's some of those things that you wanted. Here are some of those people that you've felt drawn to or compelled to, you know, engage with or dance, play, work, rest with. Here. And fucking immediately. And so I, what I've learned is to really examine those things, whether conscious or unconscious. Look at that law of equivalent exchange and look at, because I used to say, I think I said this and called it an episode, what we have is what we want. What we have is what we want, because there's an attachment and we don't realize the energy that's being poured into those things until released, or until like we're like, I'm at capacity. Polyamorous people do this shit real well. They talk about being over polysaturated, where they got too many relationships and they recognize, all right, like I ain't got it in me, so one of these got to go. And then they can make room for what aligns more. So the energy, the charge is there, right? The electrons have the capacity for infinity. But when you are connected to your proton with awareness, the presence, the seemingly infinite charge, it allows for you to fuel the electrons around you with energy so that they can release their excess energy. So the electrons come into orbit, they orbit and go around you as who you are, and then boom, release. So the charge gets released, and you send off photons into the universe, or signals to the world that draw in more and more aligned things. But while we're releasing electrons and drawing things in, this process of letting go, that's how we get what we want. That's how we get closer to acquiring the things that we desire. That's also how we, and it's an ongoing, continual process. So for me, that relationship had to be let go of for me to get what more aligned with my identity, the structure of my atom, my star, what resonates with my system, what is nourished, what is given light, what is given heat, what is given groundedness and gravity by my presence. And so now, like, I'm more successful in something positive for positive people, and able to be more of a grounding presence for people. Like I just saw it with my website. I got a 388% increase of donations from the last 2 years. What I had, I'm fucking grateful. I'm so grateful for my relationship, because what that did was I did fucking pour everything into her. And it came from hundreds of different directions. And that relationship, like the ending of it, still, it was, while it was confusing, like I found my meaning of it. I found meaning in the ending of that relationship and put it into motion. I put it to where it needs to go. I put it into use. But it isn't even really about what I did or what I, have done. It's been the things that align have just made themselves present. They've taken shape, they've taken form. And so another area that I want to put, but consciously, like this happened unconsciously. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like I'm in a zone right now. Like, like women I've been interested in, curious about, like they couldn't be in my space while I had that relationship. The quality of the work that I'm putting out, the clients that I've been acquiring, the work opportunities, that shit couldn't come in because there wasn't space for it. And I say it too, like there wasn't space for me to have my emotions in the relationship. And here I am now, like 20 whatever podcast episodes into self, however many journal entries later, like to release these emotions, and now dancing and releasing even more, my capacity is increasing. The capacity that I have is increasing, and I want to do more for that. Like I've been in the sex ed space, and she and I have shared a lot of commonality within that sphere, and I recognize people treating me different, and it doesn't feel super welcoming to me anymore. And I recognize that, perhaps I was there for reasons of just like trying to restore hope in men, because there's a lot of people and women in there who just don't like men. And then like I'm like, oh well, I can change their mind. And one of the things I learned from this breakup, you can't fix people. You can't care about being liked by everybody. And I really cared about that. And just it's felt like for a while now that, yeah, like it's not been the welcoming space that it once was to me because of a mistake being my relationship not working out, which we can't even call a mistake, right? Like, do we call that a mistake because something just didn't work out? And yet here I am in dance. I'm stepping on toes, knocking knees, and sending people the wrong way, and making them quote look bad on the dance floor. And I made dozens of mistakes, even in a fucking day. And yet people still want to dance with me. And yet people still welcome me. The positive reinforcement is there. Hey, Courtney, yeah, you might have messed up, but you'll get better. Yeah, you keep showing up, like you're choosing to be here. And that, hearing that was so fucking validating to me because it meant something there. Whereas my choice didn't mean anything in a relationship and in the world where consent and choice are so like spoken about. And so I'm trading that. Like I made a decision consciously to just trade that, with discernment, of course, but trading that for this dance space. Like I'm choosing to get good at Brazilian Zouk, and I'm willing to exchange my presence in the sex positivity, sex education spaces, except for, using discernment where it makes a lot of sense. And I've recognized that even with social media. I ran a little test. I was like, all right, if I scroll less on social media, right? I told my family, like, hey, I'm gonna miss shit. I'm gonna miss birthdays. I'm gonna miss messages and emails and stuff because I want to focus on my website. I focused on my website, and this past month again, like I think it was 43 donations, 388% increase. I started the support groups, which I'm pumped about. Had the first one last night. It was great. I got some feedback to integrate. I started a men's herpes support group. My website looking great. People are finding it. I've had the most support calls in October, and we only like a weekend into it out of all of these years, man. And I didn't know what my capacity was until this relationship ended. My therapist, again, like he said, he was like, well, he made me say this out loud. He's like, or I was like, I got more out of the ending of this relationship than I got from it. And that hurt to say, but it's true. Like in the relationship, I got to see what my capacity was to give. I really got to see that. And now I'm learning that I ain't got no kind of capacity to receive, because motherfuckers be like, oh my God, Courtney, good job. I'm like, no, don't tell me that. I literally stopped them. I say, hey, no, don't tell me that, because then I'm going to get too excited and I'm going to fuck it up. I have to take a breath, say thank you. I receive that fully. And then just like let myself receive, because I've not received. And that has been one of the most uncomfortable things, even in this new space, even in my new capacity and expansion of now having multiple consistent romantic partners, now being in a new environment, now building community the way that I want to fucking build community, now learning how to dance on top of maintaining, my yoga therapy certification program, maintaining the clients that I see, being able to have the support calls, still getting booked for speaking engagements, expanding into working with not just youth educators, but also speaking at an HBCU next week, literally next week, about sexual health, sharing my story in unique, creative ways. Like I'm really in fucking rhythm right now. And dancing, I think, really brought up residual stuff, because it's like, damn, man, why couldn't it be us? Like, why couldn't this have happened and been with that person? And I think that that's what I've been dancing off, is the fact that it really is over. Like it's done, and that this is my new life, and that there's even more for me to release and let go of in regards to my identities from that relationship and who I saw myself being. And even Courtney Jr., man, like now, if that was 2 years with somebody I thought I was gonna spend the rest of my life with, and then a year-ish after the relationship ending, still having these kind of feelings, now that means I gotta get to know somebody for 3 years before determining whether or not they're going to be, the mother of my children, if they're going to be my wife, if they're going to be my life partner, if this is somebody who, is I'm finna do this shit with, right? And that requires more and more letting go. And the more I let go, the more my capacity increases. And the more my capacity increases, the more depth and expansion I'm able to have with the few people that I want to be able to have that with, right? And there's the limitations, obviously, and I think that things and people and relationships and timing and things, they have a natural transition. They have to. There's going to be a natural transition of what relationships have to look like. There's a natural transition of how people engage with and interact with one another. There has to be all of these natural things that just they have to happen the way that they're going to happen. And maintaining the capacity, what she taught me was like, what are your intentions? What are boundaries? And I will say that, like, I didn't understand that until learning how I learn, and how I learn is through metaphors and doing. And so now, if someone tells me something, I need to identify, ask for metaphors, because that's my rhythm. My rhythm is metaphors. My rhythm is doing. My rhythm is choosing. My rhythm comes from a place of fucking power. Whereas not everybody else's rhythm is that. But if I was leading the relationship and I led with what my rhythm was, then yeah, she would have been able to align herself appropriately. She might have seen and known how she wanted to align, but couldn't, because I wasn't expressing my rhythm. I was doing the mechanics. And I don't know if she'll ever hear this, but I'm thankful. Thank you for that. If you hear me, I appreciate it. And yeah, part of being the lead and leader in dancing is taking accountability, right? Like, if something, if you take the wrong step, it's because I led you wrong. If the dance doesn't look a certain way, it's because of me as the leader, right? So if I ain't got my rhythm in check, how can I lead you? How can I guide you? How can I put you where you need to be? And so that's what I'm working on, like bringing what I have in sex, in podcasting, in yoga, into dance. And then therefore I can bring that, not just, again, I ain't like bragging and saying I'm just a good fuck, but I'm also a good person. I'm also a good friend. I'm also a good partner, but also like the expression of my rhythm. Like, I make dad jokes. I fucking love me a good dad joke, a pun. And not everybody does. And I think that my rhythm is also maybe not nurtured, because that's what my nature is. So I hope, with everything in me, I am very hopeful to be able to dance. Yeah, like I think I will. I know I will. I might still be working on the mechanics. I may not have the moves down, but one of the things that they keep saying is keep the rhythm. You can fuck up all you want, just keep the rhythm. Boom, chick, chick. Keep the rhythm. And I'm in my head, like, I'm thinking, all right, left, right, left, left, right, left, 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 right, 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 left, right. That helps me a lot better than the boom, chick, chick. Like, I understand the impact and everything, but I'm doing this shit in my own way, and I can just like, yeah, I can't wait to go to dance class tonight. I'm gonna fuck around, be in my bedroom practicing. Fuck, I got to do this conference. So big takeaways. As long as I hit the game winners, I can miss all the free throws. That that thought process, that mindset, like it can't be, I can't be, you know, determining for the outcome. You know, one of the guys that I met at the Zouk class, he was like, yeah, you know what, look, what's your goal for tonight? Like, let's set a goal. And at first it was like, all right, I just want to do the basic. Like, let me just do the basic. I'm gonna perfect the basic. And then another one was just have fun, right? Like, and that's not even a goal. Like, the dance is about the dance. And when you just dance, you can get away with certain shit in life. Like, I remember somebody at my old job, she should have been fired all the fucking time, but she was who she was. And I think that was just like a respect thing. Like, okay, we know who you are. Here's where we can, you know, where to place you. But when you don't express yourself in your rhythm, people don't know where to place you. People don't know how to orient themselves to you and whatever your rhythm is. And it's because of that that I'm single. I mean, I have, don't get me wrong, I have relationships, but like I really value having more depth, and I think that what that's going to require is for me to step on some toes. It's going to require for me to fuck up. It's going to require for me to be myself, and that's what I'm learning how to dance. I'm learning rhythm through dance, and this is translating in all areas of my life because I'm letting go of, I'm shaking off, I'm breaking up the trauma that's in my fucking knees and hips and genital region of where I've been so objectified throughout, or objectifying myself even, by allowing for intimacy to only be limited to these parts of the body, whereas dance allows for more big freedom, big expression of all of you outside of you, like that sun, right? The sun, there is a fucking sun's capacity of love, of joy, of emotion, of care, of passion that I poured into my relationship. That relationship ends, and now it's just free flowing energy. That the more things that I let go of, the more aligned electrons are going to make their way into and take form in my life, in my orbit. So like that's how I'm choosing to live now, and I'm choosing to believe that. And as I believe that, I'm fucking seeing the world around me validate the shit. And I changed my environment. Like I went from Portland, Oregon to St. Louis to New Jersey to St. Louis to all of those places not working out for me, and then boom, I moved to New York, and this shit's just bam. This is the axis to be on. This is where I've rooted my axis. And so work, rest, and play from my atomic structure, nurturing my identity as a creative, as a connector, as a community organizer, leader, as someone who believes in choice, who's curious, who values completion, like seeing things through. It's a perfect place for me to do the things that I do. It's a perfect place to nurture my nature and to continue to let go. So as I continue to dance and release the dreams, the thoughts, the emotions, I'm about to be a dancing ass nigga. And I got these two grants pending right now. It's October 7th. I'm a week late, but you know, it's a week late because they said that they were going to distribute funds at the end of September. So I'm gonna follow up today and just check in. Like, hey, I know y'all said y'all will let us know either way, but I just want to know so I can like rest easy. Like that's all I need to know. I would really love to get this fucking $180,000 grant to travel around and do simulations to healthcare organizations for free, collect the survey data, prove that this thing works, and then make something positive for positive people. A fucking give it a physical location and be able to have people funnel in so that they can do these trainings themselves or even just travel to them and be able to do that. So I'm speaking that shit into existence with this sun's worth of fucking energy that I now have. And for $180,000, I can do that shit for 2 years. So that's a solid salary for me for the next 2 years. I'm gonna still teach my genital exams job unless I need to let that go too. But I'm a letting go ass nigga right now. I'm all about some letting go. But in letting go, I'm letting in. And I think that that's the powerful thing in all of this. So, all right, that concludes this episode of Self. I got therapy tomorrow. Can't wait to talk about all of this and how dance has been influencing me, and yeah, to do a little recap of that therapy session too. Why is that gate? Oh, it's open. I thought it was closed. All right. So till next time, stay present.